Hello there, everyone. These are my series of lectures by Mr. Simon Shutarik, that is me. Today, we will discuss web authoring in detail with regard to CIE, IGCSE, ICT. Right. What is a website? First of all, we need to discuss what a website actually is. We need to discuss the different layers that the website is basically divided into. We have the content layer. The content layer is developed by using HTML to add any particular content within a web page. For example, inserting of text, images, embedded objects, sound, movie clips, making tables. All these content that are added to a web page or a website in total is done through HTML, which is part of the content layer. Then we have is the presentation layer. The presentation layer will be done using CSS, cascading style sheets. We will discuss both the embedded style sheet within HTML and external style sheet in the lecture today. CSS will help you to design a particular layout for the entire web page, such as the font sizes, the background color, the table color. All these formatting settings will be done through the presentation layer. Then we have is the behavior layer, which is done through different scripting. These scripting will include scripting such as JavaScripting to add any sort of behaviors, such as validating the page or adding any sort of animation to a page. I always call the behavior layer one of the layers that adds a life to a page. Otherwise, a web page is never alive. It's dead. If you want to make it alive, you need to use JavaScripting for that. What is HTML? Obviously, before you start with web authoring, you should be well aware of the fact that what HTML is. Stands for a hypertext markup language, and in short form, you may also call it as a markup in short form. So if the examiner talks about markup, you should know it's HTML. It can be written using different packages such as Dreamweaver, Microsoft Visual Studio, and we will use different web browsers such as Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, or Mozilla Firefox to view the web page that we have created. Basically, what is CSS? CSS can be embedded into HTML, can be written internally, or could be written externally as well. And like I discussed before, it's part of the presentation layer that helps your web page to be presented, be formatted. How do we add comments to an HTML markup? For that, let me directly go into Dreamweaver. And let me open up an HTML page. Within your Dreamweaver, you have the design, you have the split, and you have the code. And down here, you have the properties of the page, as you can see over here, right? When you come to the code, what you will see over here is you have is apply comment, and you have apply HTML comment. So I can add any comment over here saying that this is where the body of the web page begins. So these are my own comments which will not be part of my coding. So that's how you add coding to an HTML page. Using basic preset HTML styles in the content layer. We will discuss some very basic styles that can be used. Well, you should be aware of the fact that we have different headings. If you go to the properties, you will see over here is that I have heading 1 till heading 6. If I select heading 1 and if I select heading 6, what you will see is heading 6 seems to be the smallest one and heading 1 seems to be the largest one. These are some preset HTML tags that have been developed to work with headings. So remember that your H6 is the smallest one and H1 seems to be the largest one. You have others over here such as pre-formatted text and paragraph as well. Okay, you could do is, for example, if you want to write ish to o, and let's say you want is +2, you would like +2 to be a superscript. Okay, so in order to do that, you don't have a facility available within Dreamweaver to help you do that. You need to be acquainted with the coding. So this is why I would always like you to know the, and have a good idea about HTML. You should have a good working knowledge of HTML. It's really important. And you'll close with SUP. SUP basically stands for super, and 2 will be sub, so we'll use SUB for that. SUB, and we'll close with SUB tag. So as you can see over here is, I've been able to define the superscript and the subscript within an HTML using specific tags for that. Since we're talking about it, well, those of you who are not aware of what tags basically are, remember that in HTML you have tags. You start with HTML, you close with HTML. You start with a head tag, you have to close with the head tag. You have the title, you have to close with the title. Well, let me elaborate the point by saying so that, for example, if you view this in the browser, my default browser right now is Internet Explorer, and that seems to be really slow. Okay, as long as it takes to open up, I'll discuss more. So you have different tags available. Remember, whenever you open a tag, you need to close the tag. It's not important that you always close a tag, but it's always a very good habit that you close a tag. Remember that. It's a very good habit that you close tags. Right. So h6 is a tag, you have to close h6, body tag. So some preset tags are those tags that have already been developed within HTML, and you can use them. They will consist of lots of tags that we will keep on discussing during this lecture of mine. Okay. In order to view your page in your web browser using Dreamweaver, what you will do is you will hit F12. By hitting F12, you can view whatever you've done within your web browser, and that depends on which particular web browser have you set as default. HTML tables in the content layer. Well, as I continue talking about tables within HTML, I would like to discuss one term, which is what you see is what you get, mostly abbreviated as WYSIWYG. You might have seen within your ICT papers as well. What do they actually mean is that what you see is what you get. Use such kind of softwares in which whatever you do, are you able to see that? Well, even within Dreamweaver, you will have issues at times when we start discussing the table header and table footer. When you apply the background color in table header and table footer, you will not be able to see it within Dreamweaver. But as soon as you view in the browser, you will be able to see the background color being applied. We'll talk about this later on. Just wanted to introduce you with this particular term. HTML tables in the content layer. Well, one of the content layer's property are the tables. We'll try to discuss these in details. Always remember that whenever you work with your web page, you will always have this within a folder. Learning web authoring, right? And I will name it as index. Always try to make your first page as index, okay? Your first page needs to be index.html. This is what was mutually decided in the World Wide Web Consortium, to make the first page as index.html and default.asp. There are others, but we will just keep in mind to make it as index.html. So there are different ways we can work with table. One of the basic ways that you click on the table and you insert the table. You can come with the properties and you can define the border. You can define the border thickness, the border color. You can define the alignment of the table. You can merge the contents of the table any way you want to. You can come here and you can merge them. You can split them again by clicking on this and having 2 or 4 more columns within it. So this is how basically you work with tables. You can have different colors in every cell by defining them from here. Okay, so remember how to work with tables. Your tables might be 100 pixels. Your table might be 100 percentage. In case of percentage, your table will be viewed in all the resolutions, tablet, PCs, wherever. In case of pixels, obviously it will depend on the resolution. How many pixels are there width-wise within your tablet, within your PC or your cellular phone. So if you want to talk about accuracy, you will use pixels, and if you want to talk about opening it on all the devices, you will talk about percentage. So if the examiner says that make sure that your web page opens up in all the browsers and fits all the screens, you'll always give preference to percentage. Remember that. Okay, you may add over here different images. So what I'll do is I'll go to sample pictures. I'll just try to get some pictures. Okay. Yeah. I'll just choose JPG and I will choose fine. So what we'll do is I'll go to my documents, I'll go to the desktop, and I just saved it on the desktop. And learning Webauthoring, and I'll paste it here. The reason why I've pasted it because I want to talk about is, for example, I want is a background image over here. So here you go. I want another background image over here. I can have this. You can see I have the car over there. But remember one thing that I want to talk about is that as far as your images are concerned, okay, you have to be sure that your images always fit in the background as their original resolution. Now what do I mean by this? What I'm trying to say is that if the image is 150 by 150, it will actually appear as 150 by 50 in the background, and it will start being repeated afterwards. For example, if I talk about this particular image of this person, you see there's a repetition going on. The image is coming in the background and tiling will appear. We will talk about no tiling, repeating tiling, x-axis, y-axis as soon as we start discussing CSS. So you may add the picture behind a table. You may add that particular picture behind the entire page. How would you do that? Come to the properties, not inside the table, but somewhere on the page. Page properties, background image, browse, and let's add this and apply. What you will see is now at the background of the entire web page, you can see that particular image appearing. So you can have the image appearing at the back of a page or a table or within a cell. Okay, if you want it to appear within a table, click on the table, go to the properties, and let's have this particular image appearing behind the entire table. So you have this image appearing behind the entire table now. Okay, to practice with this particular thing. Okay. What I'll do is I'll open up a new page. I'll save this as index.html again, and I'll insert a new table by selecting this one. Why am I selecting this one? Because I need to discuss an important point, the coding. When you make a table, remember your table is made out of a row, one row and one column. Well, this is row and this will be your column. So if you want to make one cell, you'll add is tr and then th or td, then th or td or th or td. Let's say th. Th stands for table heading and td stands for table data. Both th and td are used to add a column. Keep that in mind. The first row within a table will be used as th. Remember that. Okay, not in all cases, but the second, the third, and the rest of them can be used as TD, as you can see over here. So whenever I have to insert a row, I'll use the TR tag. And whenever I want to insert some data or a column, I'll add TD, 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 and the content will appear over here. Right? So that's how you do it. If you come back over here, and if you come to the properties, you will notice something over here, that within this table, I have this header option available. Let's go to the split and let's see what's happening. Note over here what will happen. If I uncheck this, my TH converts into TD. And look at this again. My TH converts into TD and my TH will convert into TD. So you can either convert your first row as a table data or into table heading. Okay, right. You may even add a caption to your page. What I mean to say is, for example, over here, what I can do is I can add a particular PG color to this, and what I will do is I'll come to the coding and right over here before the TD tag, before the TR tag, I'll use caption and I will name it as all about laptops. And I'll close the caption. Once I go back, you will see is I have all about laptops as a caption for the table, as a heading for the table sort of like thing. It's a caption. It's part of the table, but still it's not within your TR tag. It starts before the TR tag. Please have a look again. It is a part of the table, but it's before your TR tag. That's how we put a caption on a particular table, right? We'll talk about T-foot, T-head, and T-body as well. I'll come to this part again once we start discussing CSS, cascading style sheets. Okay. Now what I would like to discuss is embedding CSS in HTML. Okay, we have discussed table caption, TR, TD, TS tags, table borders, defining T-foot, T-head, and T-body. We will discuss this later on when we discuss CSS. Okay. Remember to use TH with T-head and not TD. So whenever you use the T-head tag, remember to use TH with that. Okay. Use embedded CSS in HTML. It means that we will use different style attributes within an HTML tag is known as embedded CSS. Okay. So, for example, what I would like to do is I would like to define the width of this table. Okay, the width of this table, not using this particular width tag, but using embedded CSS style or an internal CSS style, I would say. For that, all you need to do is just type style is equal to use the double quotes. As soon as you insert the double quotes, you have different options available. Let me say W for width. I want the width to be, let's say, 340. PX for pixels, okay, or the percentage, or whatever you want. And here you go. So if you come back, you will see your table has been defined with an embedded CSS style of 340. Embedded means that your style is not defined in an external style sheet, but within the HTML coding. So you have to be very careful when the examiner talks about internal style sheet or an embedded style sheet to be used within the HTML file. Usually, you've always been talking about an external style sheet in all the papers and all the past papers. But you have to be careful when you read the question paper. Be confident, you should know where to use external, when to use external, and when to use internal. There will be lots of other things. You can probably define TD, make a new STYLE, make a new style is equals to let's say the height of a particular cell. Make it as, let's say, let's make it 60 px. So you can see this is different. It's 60. So that's how you will define your styles within your embedded HTML. You may do other things as well. For example, if I type some sort of content over here, um, types brands colors, right? What I would like to do is I would like to align this text. Well, obviously you're aware of the fact that I can align the text using the top or using the bottom or aligning horizontally to the left or aligning to the right or aligning it to the center. But no, I'm not talking about this particular right now. What I'm talking about is to do the same thing using the styles. So let's see how can I do that. I'll come here and within this, let's say I would like to do is I would like to say over here is style is equals to text align center. Right? Remember that within your embedded styles, you have to have the opening and the closing double quotes. So once you do this, it has been aligned center. Well, obviously it can be done through your HTML, but I'm trying to emphasize on the fact is, what if the examiner talks about embedded CSS? This is how you will be doing it. Okay, style, text align, center. Right. Okay, the next thing that I would like to talk about is border claps in HTML tables. Again, this will be something that I'll definitely come across when I start discussing CSS with you. Working with images, right? Well, you can insert that particular image directly over here. You can reduce the size by holding the shift key and maintaining aspect ratio. As you can see over here is that when I reduce the size, the width and the height ratio is being maintained. So if the examiner says the width should be 300, I can make it exactly 300 over here. That's how you maintain the aspect. If you can type over here is all about cars, this is known as the alternate text, which means if this image is not loaded, at least when you bring your mouse over this particular image, you will know what this image is all about. It's known as the alt, right? You can do different things with this particular car. You may align it anywhere you want to. Okay, you can rotate it anywhere you want to, but this rotation will be done using Photoshop, Adobe Photoshop. For this, you visit one of my other lectures, which I'll be uploading on my website very soon. Okay, right. Then you should be aware of the fact that your image could be used as a link. You could link this with any other file that you'll have over here. Okay, this could be linked internally or externally. Right. Inserting a video and audio into a web page. So if you want to insert a particular audio or a video over here, let's say I have the following video here, or I would like to insert this particular whale audio here. What I'll do is, let's say I want to insert the video over here first. So what I'll do is come here and type over here source is equals to So what you'll do for that is you'll type embedded source, which I have is this, right? Come here and you save it. Let's preview. You'll have that particular thing playing over here, right? And if same way, if you want is a sound, you will use embedded source to add. I'll do that one as well for you. Over here, let's add embedded. Close this, save it, and well, you have both going on. Sounds very ugly. Okay, now let's come to the next part. Defining RGB color. Very important thing. We need to discuss this. Well, it's very, very important. In your examination and within your book, the examiner talks about different color codes. Well, and within your book, your CIE book, the examiners has given different colors. What I mean to say is, let's say, what I want to do is, I want this cell to have a color RGB in such a way, RGB. Red. If I type 255 over here, and if I type 255 over here, 255, 255, and 255 means white, which means it's FF, FF, and FF. So 255 is equals to FF. Your hexadecimal color means that your 6 color codes are representing it. The first 2 are for R, the next 2 for G, and the last 2 for B, RGB. This actually represents that red has 255 different color codes, green has 255, and blue has 255. So 255 multiplied by 255 multiplied by 255, you have so many millions or hundred thousands of different colors available within your color palette. But the examination question states that make sure that the red is off, make it 0, and the green, blue are on. So you write 0, 0, 255, 255. Add this, and this is what you will get, which is 0, 0, FF, FF. But what if the examiner talks about something different? What I'm trying to say is, what if the examiner says that the red color should be 50% on, and green and blue should be 100% on? Well, the simplest way to resolve such a kind of issue will be 50% would mean 255 divided by 2, 127.5. You will always round this up and you will make it 128. So if I write over here is 128, I will be getting 50% of red, and this is the color that we're expecting to get. And if the examiner says that, let's say 1/4 of green should be on, so I'll assume, and I know that 255 divided by 4 is 36.75. Round it up becomes 64. So I'll write over here is 64. So this is the color that I get if red is half on, green is full on, and blue is 64% on. So this is the greenish color combination that you will expect to get. So this is how you work with your color combinations. Okay, so you can have 1/10, you can have 1/20th, whatever you do, remember to divide and to round it up. That's the simplest way to handle such kind of situations. Defining lists in OL and UL. Since we are discussing all the tags within HTML, I would like to continue and talk about OL and UL. Well, how do you define OL and UL within your HTML? I'll just directly come back over here, and I will define over here is UL type circle, and I will define is li list. Li stands for list, and I can have different things in my list. I can have is, I'll use the same laptop 1, and I'll close is the li. Then I will have is again my li, two, and then lastly I can use li for laptop 3 and close the li tag. And remember to close is the ul tag as well. Then I can add is the break rule to come to the next line, and we can discuss is ol type a, and same way I can have the following. And I can close is the ol tag. Let's view this, and this is what we get. We get is ul unordered list and ol for the ordered list. Yes or no? Right? So that's how you define the ordered list and unordered list. Hyperlinks. There are two different kinds of hyperlinks that you will be using. One is the internal hyperlink and one is external hyperlink. Internal hyperlink is done using your anchor. Okay, now usually done through the div tags as well, which I'll discuss with you. Okay, in HTML5 we use the div tag, the division tag, to define your anchors. Well, all you have to do is define an anchor at the very top, name it as top, and come down here and say go to the top of the page. I can select this and let me minimize this, and what I can do is I can use this to point to this. I'll file save it. I'll view this in the browser. Now if I go up, probably it was not selected. I'll do it again. Oh yes, it was not selected. There you go. As soon as you link, make sure the color changes. If the color changes to blue, this means the link has obviously been created. Right? Okay. And how do you create external links? I would like to do is I would like to link this with another page. So click on this, click on the folder and browse to another page. Okay. Now if I view this in the browser, I'll just try to, the ugly sound, I'm sorry. Okay. Now if I click on this, it opens up a new page. Okay, so if I write something in the target, anything, okay, and let me save it and let me go back, let me refresh this, and now if I click on this, it opens up in a new tab. So target basically means that you're trying to open up this in a new window. You could link this with a text, you could link this with an image. So same way, if you want to link with an image, you can do that as well. And you can define anything in the target. Usually the examiner says as such as underscore. Obviously in both cases, it will work. So I click on this, it opens up a new page, right? So that's how you basically work with internal linking and you work with external linking. Okay, remember with that. Right. creating CSS files. Now we will learn is how to create a CSS file. I'll create a new CSS file, new CSS file. Well, the reason why we create an external CSS file is so that if, let's say we have hundreds of pages, and what I want to do is I want to make changes in all these pages. I will not do my formatting in all the HTML pages, all 100 pages. What I will do is I'll create a CSS file since it's part of my presentation layer. And within this CSS file, what I will be doing is I will be defining different headings, paragraphs, tables. All these will be defined with my CSS file. And I will attach my CSS file with my HTML pages. So whatever I have defined within the CSS file, all the tags, their properties, they will be inherited to my HTML file. Say in the future, if I want to make any change I want to make any change or any changes within my presentation layer, content layer, which is the CSS, I can easily do it, and it will make changes in all the HTML pages. For example, changing the background color of the table, I can do it in the CSS file. All tables within my HTML pages will have their color changed. Background color of the page to be changed, the font to be changed, the headings to be changed, anything can be done through CSS. It's a very powerful tool, and it really gives a lot of presentation facilities to your HTML. So how do we create one? Well, it's simple. You go to Windows, you go to CSS styles. You can even remember the Shift F11 key. What I will do is I'll define new tags. I'll define a tag over here is H1, and I will define H1 such as Arial, color blue, size and italic, and block means it should be aligned towards the left. Okay, I will save this as .css. I'll come to my HTML file. I will select colors as H1. You see H1 by default it's different. Okay, or let's say I'll select brands and I will make this as H1 as well. Okay, now I will attach. Did I save this? Let me see, where did I save it? Learning Webauthoring, fine. Okay, now let's attach it again. As soon as you do this, you will note that both of these have changed accordingly. So if I change this from 10 to 18 and save it, you will see the changes occur over here. This was just one example of H1. You have so many tags. So if you define all the tags over here, you will obviously have an effect to your HTML file. Okay. What you can do over here is you can make or define a new tag such as your table tag. I want my table to have a background image, this one or this one. Okay. Okay. File, save. Come here and you see automatically it's working. So all the changes that you make within your CSS file will have the implication to your HTML file. That's the first point that I want to discuss. Okay. Then what I would like to discuss is how to define. I'll get rid of all these and we'll discuss the t-foot, the t-head and the t-body. Within my CSS file, again I'll delete all this and I'll define three things. I'll define is your t-head. I would like the t-head to have a background color of this and a font Arial, white and large. Apply. I would like to have is t-body should have a background of yellow. That's it. And I would like lastly to have is my t-foot, and t-foot should have a background color of red, for instance. I'll save this file. I'll come to HTML and I'll make a table using this. Okay. And over here what I'll do is I need to define this now. I would like this to be the T head, this to be the T body, and this to be the T foot. So let's deal with T head first. Come over here, define this as T head and close the T head tag over here, right? I would like to do is define the T body over here and close the T body over here, and lastly define the T foot over here and close the T foot over here, right? File, save it. Let's come here. Well, you can see something over here is, let me just increase. Fine. There wasn't any space, so I just wanted to increase the space a bit. So you can see the T head, the T body, and the T foot. But you might have noticed something over here is that I was lately talking about this particular term, WYG, which means what you see is what you get. This is a perfect example to explain what I mean to say by that. Do I actually see and get the same thing? Whatever I'm trying to do I get the same thing? No, I don't. I have set up different font, different background colors for my T foot, my T body, and my T head, but I don't see it over here. But once I view this in the browser, I'm able to see what's actually happening. So even at times, Dreamweaver, being one of the best software available, will not do this for you. What you see is what you get. So you have to be sure of these points, to be sure about the fact that you have to view it in your browser. Does it work or not? Okay. This was the first part. Next part that I would like to discuss with you are the classes. Since we're discussing CSS, I would like to discuss classes with you. Classes, very interesting thing and very important feature of your CSS. My situation over here is different now. I would like to do is, I would like to create three different tables. One table, two table, and let's say the third table. Well, now what I would like to do is, I would like is that all these three tables to have different formatting. And let's say I'm using a website that has all these tables in my all 100 pages. And I would like different type of tables within these pages. What we have learned is that within CSS we can create table tag, and we can define the background color, the border color, or the text to be typed in within this table. But that's limited. Within your table tag, you can just have one table tag, one table formatting. What if you want different tables? One table to have background blue, the other table to have a background white, the third table to have background black. How can you do this? How can you redefine your tables? How can you redefine your every tag? Redefine your paragraphs. Paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3. P color blue, P color white, P color red. Or H blue, H1 red, H1 yellow, H1 orange. So every tag that you have within HTML can be redefined using classes. How do we create one? You will come here, new, and you will not create a tag, you will create class. And I will name it as, let's say, blue table. And let me set the background color of this as blue. I'll make, and you will always see that when you create classes, it's with a dot. I'll create a new one, and I'll name it as red table. I'll name it as red, so I'll make it red. And lastly, I would like to make another table that will be known as black table. I'll I'll save it. I'll come in my HTML and I'll select my table. I'll go to the properties and I'll see over here I have style, and within the style I have this, and I have the blue one, and I also have is the red one. So like I said, this is not only in limited tables. Your each and every tag can be redefined using classes. A very powerful feature to give more formatting features to a web page. These are your classes. I'll discuss more things about your tables. We'll talk about border claps. What do we mean by border claps? Well, what do I mean by border claps is that if I insert a table, what you will note over here is that, let's say, let me add border size 1. Let me save it. Okay, I need to get rid of the styles. I'll save this as well. I'll come back. Yes, you will see something is that between each cell this cell has its own border, this cell has its own border. What I would like to do is, I don't want two separate borders to be used within these tables. I would like the border to be collapsed. How do you collapse the borders? Well, what I mean to say is a single border. You will come in CSS. You will do is you will define is a tag, the table tag, and you'll come into block, border. You'll make it solid. You would like to make the width as 3 pixels, and you would like it to be blue, or let's say red, right? Apply. Okay, let's save it. Let's come here. Okay, and let's view this in the browser and see what do we have here. We have the outer border as 3 and the inner is like this. What if I want the outer to be 8 and the inner to be 1? Let's view this first. It's 8 and the inner is, how do we find the inner? If you want to define the inner, you will do is you will use this TD for that. Make it solid, or you can make it dashed or whatever. Have a look at them. I'll make it solid. I'll make it 2, and I'll make the inner as blue. Save it. Right? Why this didn't happen? Because in order to do this, you have to define it in TH, because your this, as you can see over here, is TH. If you convert this, it will turn to blue. So you can convert this either into T-head or TD, T-head or TD. Remember that. But that's not what the point is. I wanted to collapse it. How do you collapse it? Well, come table tag again. Over here, use border collapse. File, save it, come back, refresh. Now you have a single border between every cell. This concept is known as collapsing the border collapse concept, right? So we discussed the T-head, the T-foot, we've discussed the border collapse as well. Well, how do you add comments to your CSS file? CSS, if I want to add comment over here, I can add a comment over here. Okay, that's how you add a comment to your CSS, right? Right, you can add comments. This is for multi-line comments. You can add comment over here as well. Okay, add particular comment. Well, the best way to add a comment in CSS would be using this and add a comment. And lately, if you want to close it as well, you can use is the star and this. No, sorry, I didn't add the star and this. So that's how you basically add comment in the CSS file. And then what I would like to discuss with you is that how do we define, for example, I want is the TD and the TH to have the following. I can write in commas or comma or comma. So this is known basically as group style definitions. In one group, using the commas, you can define what it should look like. So if I save this, now if this was TH and TD, in both case it will be the same because I have defined TH, comma TD, comma this will have the following properties. This is your group. Adding comments, group style definitions, working with CSS background colors and images, publish a website. Okay, this is something that obviously I would like to discuss with you. Whenever you have to publish a website, this facility is available within your Dreamweaver as well. To publish a website, what you need to do is you need to use an FTP software. Okay, an FTP software. FTP stands for File Transmission Protocol Software. An FTP software will basically help your files from your computer to be uploaded on the server, on the remote server. These will be uploaded on the HTTPS domain or HTTPS folder or the HTTP folder. Okay, these are two different kinds of domains that you have. HTTPS is secure and HTTP is not that much secure. Okay, there are encryption policies and you also use the TLS and the SSL security layers for that. In order to do that, you go to new site. You'll type over here is the name of the site. Okay, test one. You'll enter is the URL of it. There will be some information that you would like to have. For example, you would like to have is the host name or the FTP address of a web server, for example, ftp.mrsim.com. Which folder do you want the files to be stored in? I would like them to be stored in /https folder or HTTP folder. You would be provided with a login and a password by your hosting company. They will give you one, and they will provide you with a specific space, which is known as the bandwidth space, which means 1 GB, 3 GB, 4 GB. This is the space which is allocated for you to put your files on. Okay, and this is how you basically upload your files on your external server. Okay, so if in exam they ask you about all this is the process that you need to go through it. You will go to the site, you will go to new site, you will type the name and you will enter the information. These particular informations will be provided to you, so you have to be sure about it. Lastly, what I would like to discuss with you is, before we end this lecture, will be about okay, I just forgot one particular thing. That was, let's say, within the body tag, I can define a background image such as this one. But what I would like to do is repeat this x-axis y. See, I would like to repeat this y-axis. I would not like to repeat this. Edit. I want no repetition. Let's see what happens. There will be no repetition. Image will appear with its actual resolution. There will be no repetition. So you may repeat x-axis, you may repeat y-axis, or you may also want to not repeat as well. Well, there is something known as testing your website as well. Publish your website and testing website. Remember that in case to test your website, there are two things that we can talk about. Let's get rid of this one. We will talk about is two different kinds of testing over here. You have is functional testing. Your functional testing basically means is you have to see, is the table structure correct? Do all the images appear as planned? Are all objects that are not supposed to be visible hidden from the user? Do all internal hyperlinks works? For the entire website, please test that each page can be found, is opened up. Do all the links work? Do all the external hyperlinks work? Is your website functioning properly? How can you do that? You can make a test table. Test, is the table style sheet attached? You can write expected outcome, actual outcome, remedial action. Okay. However, if you would like to have a detailed knowledge about this, I would surely like you to refer to the page 419 on your textbook. Okay, and there's a table over there, your textbook. I'm talking about the new edition. I'm talking about the new edition by Cambridge ICT by Graham Brown. Okay, and have a look at this table where the examiner has properly mentioned the test, the expected outcome, the actual outcome, and the remedial action. Okay, so make sure you go through this thoroughly and you know what I'm talking about. You will have the user testing as well. Please read this thoroughly as well. You should be able to test your website thoroughly. Okay, and on page 420 you will have is justify the choice of text test plan. Okay, page 420, page 420. I would like you to do particular task. This task is named as 21 AM. Please go through this task, and the solution of this task is available right on the next page. Please go through this really well. Okay, till next time, if there are any other points that we are left behind, keep on visiting my website. I might come across some new points that we will be discussing, some new advanced points. Till then, this is all that I can provide you with, the content part of the syllabus and some of the advanced points that I could think of. So see you again in the near future again. All the best.